Hey, before we get into this episode, have you seen that my new book is out? It's called Stop Selling and Help Them Buy Weddings and Events. And it's a book that you helped me write because you would ask me at a conference, which of your books has what you just spoke about on stage? And if it wasn't in any of my books, I'd say it's in the next one. Well, here it is. Here's the next one. How to respond to reviews. What if you don't like doing sales? The 3 questions to ask every prospect, or they can't ask for what they don't know exists. These are just some of the chapters in there. And the beauty is you don't have to read it front to back. You can jump around to any chapter, kind of like my other book, Wit, Wisdom, and the Business of Weddings, where you can jump to any chapter because they're not necessarily connected to one another. And if you want to get free shipping on a paperback copy, go to shopalanberg.com and use the coupon code podcast. That's shopalanberg.com. Use the coupon code podcast. Get free shipping on me. Otherwise, it's on Audible. It's on Kindle. And if you go to podcast.allenberg.com, the links are all there as well. Thanks. No, you can't call me at midnight. Listen to this episode for a listener suggestion. Welcome to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Berg. I'm a speaker, author, sales trainer, website reviewer, and I help businesses like yours sell more, profit more, and have more fun doing it. Enjoy this episode. Hi, it's Alan Berg. Welcome to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. This is another listener suggestion. This actually came from at least 2 people. Erin and Valerie are the ones that I can think of that had sent me something similar to this, which is setting these boundaries on when it's okay for your clients to contact you. So a lot of this could start with when you're responding to their inquiry. If you respond to an inquiry at 10 o'clock at night or at midnight, you're kind of setting the tone that you're available at that time of day. And I know it's kind of tricky because we know that according to the Knot and Wedding Wire, about half of couples say that they choose the first one who responds. So of course you want to be the first one to respond. But I always say, respond as quickly as you can. Doesn't mean that you're physically able to respond at 10 o'clock at night. You should, because if you are spending time with your partner, if it's 7 o'clock at night and you're reading your kid a bedtime story, or you're in the afternoon, you're watching your kid's soccer game or watching them do dance or taekwondo or whatever, pay attention to those things that are in front of you, because life is about the people, right? But let's talk about setting these boundaries. I think part of this is just doing exactly that. And that's when you're onboarding somebody, just letting them know, listen, there are things that are emergencies. There are things that are not. If it's not the day of your wedding or the day before your wedding, it's not an emergency because it can get taken care of. And let them know that. Let them know that you want to be available to them, but you also have other clients and you have a family and you have other obligations and you have volunteering and you have worship and things that take your time. So I think it's really about having that conversation with them and letting them know, I want to be available to you, and just know that I won't always be able to respond right away. Now, let's talk about the communication channels. If you've been texting with someone, you've made it clear that it's okay for them to text you. Whether you respond right away or not is up to you. Can your texting platform have an out of office the way that email does? I'm sure that some of them do, that you can set an auto reply that is basically an out of office to say that I won't be available during this time because I am doing somebody else's wedding, I am on vacation, I am whatever. And then if there's someone else they can contact, great. And if there isn't, because you're a solopreneur, kind of like me, if I'm not available, I'm not available. That's what my out of office says. My texting through my website does have that availability. I don't know that I always use it, but I travel a lot and I always try to be responsive. Now, if your business is like mine and it's international or crosses many time zones, that sets a little bit different complexity to this, because I get on my computer, let's say at 8 o'clock in the morning, or maybe 9 o'clock in the morning. 5 hours later, right, is what time it is in the UK, is what time it is in Ireland. So it's 9 o'clock in the morning for me, but it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon over there. So if I wait until noon to respond, it could be the end of the day for somebody in that country. If it's Australia or New Zealand, where it could be 12 or 14 or 15 hours time difference, well, I don't have a sense of urgency to respond, because if it's 9 in the morning and it's 9 at night somewhere else, or 11 o'clock at night, I'll say, you know what, I can respond later. They'll get it first thing tomorrow morning when they look at their computer. It doesn't matter if it's midnight or if it's 2 in the morning for them or 5 in the morning. they're going to get it when they first log on. So paying attention to the time zones also matters. So for me, that sets a sense of urgency. When I log on, if I see somebody that was in California that messaged me, and if it's 8 or 9 in the morning for me and it's 5 or 6 in the morning there, don't have to respond yet. I can wait. I can let that wait and do other ones. But really, it comes down to setting that expectation. I know there are some people, I have this one friend that tends to call me Friday evenings at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the evening, my time. And I almost always just ignore that call. I just send it right to voicemail because I'm spending time with my wife or with my family if I have more around than that. And to me, that is my priority at that time. And there aren't any emergencies. Now, it's different if I'm traveling and I'm headed to a conference or at a conference and somebody from that conference contacts me, so a promoter or producer, whatever, there could be an emergency. There could be something they need from me or need of me at that time. Different story. I'm going to answer that call at night. I'm going to answer that call early in the morning because there could be a sense of urgency. So I think it's setting those boundaries is really what it comes down to, and have a conversation. Don't just let it be out there that, maybe they will, maybe they won't. And then the other thing, which is something that I've done, I've talked about this on the podcast. I know I'm going to do another one about this at some point, which is don't punish the masses for the ills of a few. If there's a couple of people that are crossing a line or getting close to crossing a line on abusing the accessibility to you, just have a conversation with them and don't punish everybody else who isn't doing that. Don't bring up a negative that isn't the negative for most of your clients when it really comes down to just a few of them, or sometimes just one of them that's just really annoying you on that one. So again, have that conversation, use your judgment on this, but communication is really the best thing. And having that conversation up front and saying, listen, I love being available for you guys. This is what would be, acceptable times, unless it's an emergency. And really, unless it's the day of your wedding, the day before your wedding, there really are no emergencies that can't get taken care of later that day or in the morning. So I hope that helps. And thanks to Erin and Valerie for that suggestion. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Wedding Business Solutions podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe to this channel and post a review on your chosen platform, Apple Podcasts or whichever one. If you have any questions about anything in this episode or any of my episodes, email me directly at alan@weddingbusinesssolutions.com or visit my website, alanberg.com. alanberg.com. If you have any suggestions for future topics or guests that you'd like to see, please again, email me or visit my website. Thanks for listening.